Hello, and welcome to a new video. Wait, is this even working, Mike? Hello, and welcome to a new video. My name is Smriti, and today I'm going to talk about the 15 books that I read in October. I know it sounds like an outrageous number, but 3 of these were manga books, so I don't know. I was just in the mood to read, and you will now hear me talk to you about the books that I was in the mood to read, because essentially I was in the mood to read like thrillers and mysteries and like weird, just like no using of brain books. I don't know if that makes sense to you. I call them removed brain raids, but yeah, that's basically the vibe that I was going for. There were some disappointments, there were some all rightness. There weren't too many hits, but there are books that I would recommend to you. So let's just get into it. I think that as usual, what I will do is that the books that I have spoken about in videos, I will keep towards the end, which are the 5 books that I read for my booker videos. The rest I have not spoken to you about at all. So let's get into it. I will talk to you now about the first and last book that I read for the month, which were romances, and they are sort of like interconnected because it's the same author, which is Layne. I would like to say it has a Y in it, so I don't know what to do with that why. But anyway, point is, the first book that I read was To Serve with Love, which was pitched to me as like a modern day You've Got Mail, which is one of my favorite movies. I love that movie so much. Essentially, we are following this girl who owns this champagne shop. So Meg Ryan owned like a bookshop. This one is a champagne shop. And there's this guy who has like this huge real estate company who's trying to buy over or like take over that space because they are technically renting from them. And yeah, it's basically their love story, but they are also like obviously talking to each other on this app, and they don't know that it is them because it is like anonymous and all of that. But anyway, it was an alright read. I gave this book, how much did I give this? I gave it a 3-star because I think that Layne writes well. I think that like you go through the book like really fast, and I mean, I honestly gave it a star just because it was inspired by You've Got Mail, and You've Got Mail is the most amazing thing and most perfect thing in just general pop culture and in the world today. So yeah, basically that's it. The next book of hers that I read was the last book that I read, which is Marriage on Madison Avenue, which is the 3rd book in the Central Park Pact. That seems like a little bit of a tongue twister. But yeah, I've read the previous 2 books in this series, and this is the 3rd and last book of the series. Essentially, the idea of this series is that there was this guy who was married to one person, Claire, who we follow like her love story in the 2nd book, but he had a mistress and then another girlfriend, and they find out that they were in this situation when he dies. So yeah, so they make this pact that like they look out for each other and make sure that they don't get duped by people like this guy whose name is Braden, I think. And yeah, we basically follow like each of the love stories. The first one was Naomi, second one was Claire, third one was Audrey, and I was really looking forward to the 3rd one because it's basically a best friends 2 lovers romance, but also a fake dating trope, and like they had been like sort of like teasing their relationship through the other 2 books, and I was really looking forward to it, but like I just generally didn't feel like there was any like payoff in the end. I thought that it was all right. It sort of followed the like steps that it had to take, and it was an all right read, but like I didn't get any satisfaction from it at all, and I just expected more. I think I liked them as characters, but this one gave me nothing. I absolutely zero characterization in this one, so I was not happy. I gave it a 2-star, and then moved on with my life. Alright, so let's quickly move on to the next three books that were part of the same manga series, which is Spy Family. So I read the first three volumes, and I think the first volume I gave a 4 star, and the next two volumes I gave a 3.5 star. I think the third volume was good. However, there's this one part which is like the first part of the third volume, which follows like a brother, and like it just made me super uncomfortable, and I was like really icked out by it. So I was like, But overall, this manga is super cute. It's basically, it follows this guy who is like this spy in this like world that's sort of like East and West Germany. That's what like the vibe looks like. And yeah, so he's a spy and he has to infiltrate this one school because there's this guy who he needs to like, I guess, like take down, who only comes out in public when he goes to his son's private school gatherings. So he decides to adopt a girl who is telekinetic. Basically, she can read minds, and then he also needs to get a wife. So he sort of gets into this marriage of convenience with this woman who he doesn't know is a assassin. So yeah, that's interesting. And yeah, it's just all these sort of like cute little adventures that they go on. The main joy of this book is the girl whose name is Anya. She is just adorable. And by the way, this series is made into like an anime series on Netflix right now, and it is so cute because it basically follows like the comics exactly, like the way that you sort of see the manga is like directly portrayed on screen. So it's really nice. I read them and watched them side by side, and it was really fun to do. But yeah, it was a good like palette cleanser between other palette cleansers. Okay, so the next chunk of books that I want to talk to you about were thrillers and mysteries that I read through the month. The first one that I want to talk to you about is You're Invited. Now, I won't really talk about this in too much of detail because I am going to be talking to Kayla and Janani about this in the live show that we're doing very soon, I think on Saturday. So like, I do hope that you have read the book and you join us for that. Even if you haven't read the book, you can just initially come and just say hi because I want to see some familiar faces. But yeah, okay, the book is essentially about this girl who is invited for her ex-best friend's wedding, and she is like, oh, okay, this sort of came out of the blue. I didn't even know she was dating someone, but turns out that she was dating her ex-boyfriend, and she's like, oh shit, this wedding cannot happen, and we don't know the reason exactly why she doesn't want this wedding to not happen. And she goes to Sri Lanka for the wedding. The ex-best friend is like this huge influencer. She's like over 1 million followers, etc., and from a really rich family, and we see all of these weird shenanigans that happen. There are a lot of twists. There's a lot of like societal stuff, and like these aunties and gossip and like family drama and like all of that sort of stuff. It's just like a lot that happens in this book, and I honestly really enjoyed it. This was one of my better reads of this month, to be honest. I gave this one like a solid 4 star in my opinion. I thought that it was really good. Writing was solid as well, and like just the amount of drama I really appreciated. And yeah, I'm gonna talk to you more about it in the live show. So I hope that you join, and if the day has passed and you are watching this after the live show is over, then I will link that live show down in the comments so that you can see what we had to say. So yeah, but yeah, basically after reading this book, I sort of got a kick for reading more thrillers. So the next book that I read was actually like, it was a, oh, if you like this book, then you might like this book. And it was called, what is it called? It's called Pretty Guilty Women. And this is also a thriller mystery sort of set in a wedding in like an exotic resort, and essentially we are following 4 women who in the beginning we find out all 4 of them have said that they alone have killed this one man, and we find out that why that happened, and we find out their stories, their past, as well as like how they all met at this resort, and like how they are all related to this wedding and all of that sort of stuff, and the things that went down. And yeah, this book was all right. I was really enjoying it in the beginning, to be honest. However, in the end, it sort of petered out. Um, However, I still feel like this was a good book. It reminded me a lot of like Big Little Lies. Not as good, obviously, but like a Walmart version or a Big Bazaar version of those books. So that's those are my thoughts. I thought that it was fine. I gave it a 3 star, I think. Yeah, I think overall I gave it a 3 star. And then from there, I read another book called The Change by, I'm forgetting her name, Kirsten Miller, I would like to say. And this one was about these women who have reached like menopause of sorts. And when they have reached menopause, they've got like these powers. And with these sort of powers that they get, they try to avenge this murder that has happened, because essentially we are following like this one woman who can see ghosts and who can hear ghosts. She finds out that this very young girl has been killed by the seafront, and the seafront is like very close to this very expensive part of town where all these billionaires live. So like something feels like off, right? And then she befriends this woman who owns like this gym, and she's like full of rage and just like really awesome, honestly. And then there's this other woman who was like an ad, but now she's become like this horticulturist with like these weird powers, I feel like, almost. Just like, I don't know, it was a really interesting journey, honestly, to read this and to understand these people as characters. I felt like the rage was really epic in this. I felt like maybe if the rage was at 90, to bring it down to like a 75, and I would have loved this book. But like, I still really liked all the things that it had to say, and I appreciated it. I thought the way that it sort of like ended was all right, but like it still was a good powerful read. I also listened to this as an audiobook, which helped me because it was more than a 400 pages odd book. And yeah, overall it was good. I gave it a 4 star, but like nothing earth shattering, you know what I mean? But I still enjoyed it, so maybe you will too. The next one that I read, oh Jesus, were two books that I did not like at all. One is A Certain Hunger, which is um interesting, because essentially we are following this woman who is a cannibal. She liked to just kill people and then eat them, and we are following her, who she's in jail right now, and she's talking to us like she's basically writing a memoir, and we're reading like her book essentially. And we are seeing how she got herself into this situation. We find out in the very beginning she murdered this one guy, and like because of that she's in jail, but she also tells us of the other murders that she has done, where she has essentially murdered and eaten parts of her lovers. Because she's a food critic, and she really likes food, and then she just had this idea of eating parts of people, like someone's tongue, and then her, like one guy's ass, legit. And like, I thought that it was really clever in terms of the way that like she went about it, and like how she ultimately, like, you know, went about doing these things without getting caught. But also I was just like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this. I gave this a 3 star, even though I wanted to DNF this so bad. Like, I was just like, no, I don't like this. There were so many parts of this book that I just did not like. I thought that it was very like erudite for no goddamn reason. And I was just like, make it stop, please. Why am I reading about this woman eating like her ex's bum, talking about it in great detail, telling us exactly how she's cooking it, and also that recipe sounded sort of good. So then I was just like, what? No. So yeah, I was, but still, like, the writing was good in parts, and like So I gave it a 3-star very like hesitantly, though in my brain it's a 2-star honestly, but like hesitantly gave it a 3-star because there were like parts that I was like underlining and I was like, oh, this is really smart and oh, this is really good. But like also overall, I didn't like it. So I don't recommend it at all. But like if this sounds interesting to you and if you want to read about eating your ex's bum, why not? Sure. And the next one was a book that unfortunately I'm really sad that I didn't like because I really was hoping that I would love it, and that is Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Raybourn. And this is basically following these 60-year-old women who were assassins, and they are retiring, so they are on this like boat that the company has sort of sent them on, but then they realize that the company is trying to kill them, so they're like, wait, we need to save ourselves. So then it's basically like kill or be killed sort of situation. So it's like what they try to do, and we also see like how they became killers and all of that sort of stuff. Now I really liked this all overall. What I loved about this book was just like how like the kills were described. I think that it is really interesting to see how like an assassination sort of went about and all of that sort of stuff. Like for example, they killed this person, I mean this is not a spoiler, with like nicotine. Like I don't know, I just thought that was really interesting, right? However, I feel like I wasn't rooting for any of the characters. I think the characterizations and the people itself I wasn't rooting for, so I didn't care by the end of it, you know, which was sort of sad because like if you spent more time with these characters, they sort of just felt like hollow. There was a casing, but inside hollow, you know what I mean? So I just felt like I wish we felt more for these people, but I didn't. So yeah, that's where we were at, and I gave it a 2.5 3 stars. And I thought that was all right, but like I wouldn't recommend necessarily, you know. Those are the end of the thrillers and the books that I have not spoken to you about. The rest are all books that I have spoken to you about, which I basically read for my booker videos, so I will link them for you. The first one was of course Glory by NoViolet Bulawayo. This book I liked in parts again and didn't like in parts. Basically, we are following this country called Jidada, with a da and a da, where there is like this guy who is a like dictator essentially. He's ruled over the country for 35 plus years, and we are following him in the beginning and we see it from his perspective, and he thinks that like, oh my god, everyone loves me, etc. But then there is a coup and he is removed, and then we also see how like a lot of people were very dissatisfied. So this other person sort of comes on board who was sort of like his vice president, who was then like shunned, and yeah, then how we realize that once he comes on board, people think that there's going to be a change, but there's really not. Yeah, that's basically how it goes. Now, the idea is that this was basically a way to talk about the coup that happened in Zimbabwe in 2017 when Robert Mugabe was ousted as president. And also, this book had animals as people. So yeah, I wouldn't call this African Animal Farm, which is what everyone else is calling it. It's really not. But I don't know, it was interesting in parts because like after a certain period of time we follow this one goat called Destiny and like her story, and I really like parts of it, and I don't know, I just like, I'll speak to you more about it in that video of mine. You can check it out, but yeah, that's basically my thoughts. It was good in parts, it was not good in parts. I gave it a 3.5 star. I feel like it should be lower, but I felt like it was well written in parts, so I just give it a higher rating. But like, yeah. The next one was My Name is Lucy Barton, which is a book that I read in preparation for another book that was shortlisted, which is O. William, because O. William is like, it's sequel. But yeah, My Name is Lucy Barton was a book about Lucy Barton and her life and how she became the person that she is. She is hospitalized in hospital, and her mum and her have a very fraught relationship, and it basically, we talk about her and how she comes from like very abysmal poverty, and how that like sort of framed her life. And then in O William, we are meeting her like ex-husband, who was a husband at that point, and he goes on this journey. And Lucy Barton I liked. I thought that it was good. I gave it a 4-star. It's very like vignette, which is the same about like O William as well, but I don't know, O William I just didn't like because the amount of times that O William was said in this, and O Lucy and O William, I lost my mind. I just thought that Lucy Barton was a better version of O William, to be honest. And yeah, maybe that's because I read them like back to back. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't like O William. I gave O William 3 stars. Honestly, I feel like 2.5 stars is better. And Lucy Barton's probably like a 3.5 star, to be honest. I gave it a 4-star initially, but yeah. Next is Treacle Walker, which was a very interesting book. It's basically like this high fantasy sort of, not high fantasy, like weird fantasy, where essentially we're following this boy who is living in this part of a country, and there's this guy called Treacle Walker who comes and he gives him something, and then there are some very weird adventures and things that happened, and it's really weird. It basically takes upon a lot of like folklore and also like things that Alan Garner, who has written previous books about like in his children's series, etc., like stuff from there and all. And this was really short. This was a really short read, and I listened to this on audio as well, but like I was just like, oh, I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed parts of it, like I didn't enjoy parts of it. I understood parts of it. I did not understand a lot of parts of it, and I just didn't think that this was for me. Overall, 3 stars, because I can like appreciate what he was trying to do, but also I didn't care. So like probably a 2.5 star because I'm being nice. But yeah. The last book that I have to talk to you about is The Trees by Percival Everett, which is a book wherein we are following a bunch of murders that are happening in Money, Mississippi, where essentially there is these white people who are getting brutally murdered. Their balls are chopped off, and the balls are found in the hands of another black dead guy, but it's the same black dead guy in each of the murder spots. And like they take the guy's body and they take it to the morgue, and then he disappears and he's found in another person's thing, like whatever, murder scene, and you're like, what the fuck is happening? So these people from the MBI, or the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation, are called in, and then like they're trying to figure out what exactly happened, and it's something to do with Emmett Till, which you will read and find out. I thought that this was really interesting, and I was really appreciating it to a certain extent. It was like weird and funny, and like the commentary was obviously very strong. However, I don't know, somewhere it lost me somewhere, and I think I just don't like books that leave me confused in the end. And I don't mean like I'm dumb, but like I just don't like open endings towards the end. I would like some sort of like resolution, I think. And yeah, that's essentially where I'm at. Those were all the books that I read in the month of October. I had a somewhat mid reading month, but that's fine. I'm hoping that November and December come through for me. You can check out my video that I made on my November TBR. I have a lot of fun books coming up, and yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have read any of these books, if you want to read them now, if like, I don't know, just comment something down below for funsies. And that's all for now, I think. You can check out either of these videos and then like subscribe, and that's all I have for now. Alright, see you in my next video. Bye!